Somalia is going through a crucial time in its national development. Recently, there have been major achievements in reforming the security forces and achieving debt forgiveness. But major challenges, such as the locust infestation and the COVID-19 pandemic, have arisen. Relations between the federal government and federal member states have been rocky, and the country does not appear ready for the looming election. Joining us to shed some light on some of these challenges is Abdulaziz Bilo. Mr. Bilo is a veteran journalist in Somalia with a strong online presence. He is currently a TV reporter for CGTN China. He joins us today from our Nairobi studio.
Mr. Bilo, Somaliland leaders seem to think that Kenya is ready to recognize them as an independent state.
There's a time that they were looking for recognition from Ethiopia for a while, and it seems like it didn't work for them. So they're now shifting their gear now towards Nairobi, hoping that Kenya will be their guardian angel and will finally recognize them as a sovereign state. But I don't think it's going to work in my capacity, because right now there's a good relation between Ethiopia and the central government in Mogadishu, and also we have some a rocky relationship, love-hate relationship between Nairobi and Mogadishu. But I don't think Kenya can go to that extent and recognize Somaliland, because it stands to lose a lot because of the much investment it has done in Somalia, especially in the Jubaland region, where it has more than 4,000 forces. So I think recognizing Somaliland for now, it's out of the question for now.
Who is showing the most influence over Somalia in the international community?
When you mention about the foreign actors that are involved in the Somali political process, we have very many countries, especially Gulf countries, who pump in millions of dollars so that they can have their way. In the previous administration, we saw the Emirates, the UAE, they were pumping millions of dollars to the former government and Hassan Sheikh Mohamud so that they could call the shots. Now we see a paradigm shift, and Qataris have replaced the Emiratis. But also we have Turkey, that is also influential in Somalia. It doesn't seem to be taking sides with each side, but it tends to work with the government that comes in power at that time. So when you talk about COVID right now, we have had many countries that have been assisting Somalia in fighting COVID. One of them is Turkey. They donated ventilators that are quite vital for Somalia. You know, before COVID, there was no single ventilator in Somalia. So many people were dying because of health-related challenges, lack of oxygen. But the surging numbers in Somalia caused the need for people to have ventilators, and Turkey did play a critical role in this. Also, China donated personal protective equipment and other basic stuff that actually helped Mogadishu to turn the tide against its fight against COVID.
August 15th is looming as a big day in Somalia's quest for an electoral compromise. What do you foresee?
Based on the recent developments that have happened in Mogadishu, the ouster of Prime Minister Hassan al-Khaire, and the way that the parliament is passing many laws, as well as the cabinet. So it's supposed to be Dusamareb 3. It's supposed to happen on 15th of August. Based on what many analysts in the capital Mogadishu are arguing is the firing of Hassan al-Khaire as the Prime Minister will deal a huge blow to the upcoming conference. But many of the view that Mogadishu might have its way, and it has to have the upper hand, because it has fired Hassan al-Khaire, the former Prime Minister, who many saw that he was in good terms with the federal member states compared to the president. So with the ouster of Khaire, many are of the view that the president might have his way. He might force the regional leaders, and actually attract them to join his camp, so that one person, one vote elections can happen in Somalia. But that's not yet confirmed, because regional leaders are insisting that the meeting in Dusamareb on 15th of August must take place regardless of whatever has happened in recent weeks. It's the international community that was pushing for the democratic elections to happen in Somalia since the enactment of the constitution, the draft document way in 2012. It has been their dream that in 2020 or in 2016 at least there must be democratic elections in Somalia. One man, one vote. That's going to be the first in a quarter century. So they were pushing actually Somalia towards this system. And when President Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud failed to deliver the democratic polls on the one-man, one vote, then it came to Farmajo. Farmajo has to deliver the one-man, one vote, and it was being pushed also by the US, by the United Nations, until the talks that were being planned in Mogadishu time and time again failed to materialize. And for once it was seen that the regional leaders had the upper hand in the dialogue and the way forward for the electoral process.
What do you think the outcome of the negotiations will be?
What the federal government and the election committee wants is at least 3 to 6 million people to be able to take part in elections. So this will be very hard for people to elect people who they want. There will be less corruption compared to 2016. So it will be very hard for somebody to bribe more than 1,000 people or 100,000 people. So this is what the federal government of Somalia has been pushing, but we don't know if they're going to have their way. But technically, I think if the worst comes to the worst, Somalia will have to go back to the 2016 model.
There have been several high-profile cases of journalists being prosecuted in Somalia recently. How do you feel working there?
Compared to previous administration, the current government in Somalia has been very hard on the media. Since 2017, we've been having a huge challenge actually going out to get real stories. We've not been able to access the presidential palace or the office of the Prime Minister to get interviews. Even during cabinet sessions, we've not been able to go there to get one-on-one with ministers. Also, the President and the Prime Minister have not been welcoming in terms of media. They've not been giving interviews compared to other leaders of different countries, compared even to other administration. Sheikh Sharif used to give interviews, Hassan Sheikh Mahmoud used to give interviews. They used to welcome journalists, we used to go there and cover events. Dignitaries, once they come, we used to go to the Villa Somalia, that is the presidential palace, and we used to get news. But this time it was quite different. We received a lot of bad reception from the current administration, and also they've been able to create their own media team, so they're trying to feed us with whatever they want. The current media environment is challenging, and when you've mentioned the arrest of the Gobjok editor rather, Abdulaziz Gurbiya, and also there's another journalist who was actually freed. His name is Mohammed Abubakar Abuja. He was in custody for almost 5 months for absolutely no reason. There was not enough evidence to hold him there even in the first place. So trying a journalist in a military court itself sends a bad signal, and it doesn't show that the press is enjoying freedom in Somalia.
Tell us what the good news is coming out of Somalia.
So it seems that Somalia, I don't know, through the grace of God or maybe through the government's efforts, they've managed to work on tackling COVID-19. So you don't find people wearing face masks in Mogadishu or across Somalia. Even if you see the videos, you'll see Somali leaders shaking hands, unlike here where you have to greet each other with the elbow. That's the COVID greeting. So you see that there's a way that even though the weak health system is still in place, Somalia has done well compared to its neighbors in the fight against COVID-19.
Thank you for joining us on ADN TV, Mr. Bilo.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.